The story starts with Prince Pigeon when he brings a healthy but dangerous soup for Lady Arlin and asks her to drink it. Looking at the soup, Lady Arlin thinks, "What on earth is this?" Prince Pigeon tries to forcefully feed her, but she keeps trying to avoid it. With no other option left, Prince Pigeon makes a pitiful face and talks about how many hardships he went through to get this soup for her. In a low voice, Arlin tells him that it's not that she doesn't want to drink it, making a cute puppy face. The prince explains how helpful the soup is and how he personally went all the way to the top of Crowan Mountain in Sahalan, hunted a monster, and brought back its heart to make the soup. After hearing all the commotion, Arlin finally agrees to drink it. As she drinks the soup, the prince looks at her in an adorable way. After finishing the soup, Arlin bends down due to exhaustion, or maybe because of drinking that dangerous soup, but on the other hand, the prince is very happy that she drank it all. The prince comes forward and tells her not to collapse whenever she wants and that she must first take permission from him. With a snap of his fingers, the prince commands everyone to get ready. The real show now begins. The prince gathers Lady Arlen's health council, the imperial knights, 99 imperial physicians, and the attending doctors. They all gather together to wish Lady Arlin a healthy and long life. Arlin tells them to stop all this, but the prince has another plan. He grabs her and says, "Let's see how much healthier you've gotten." The imperial knights start cheering as Lady Arlin begins weightlifting. "Don't worry. It's not heavy, just a stuffed bunny." After weightlifting, she has to run 10 laps around the mansion. At this rate, before she gets healthy, she will die first. After completing all this, she becomes totally exhausted, coughing and struggling to catch her breath. The prince asks her, "See, you're already tired. You're too weak. You need to get healthy soon, so we can go hiking and hunt monsters together." With a cheerful smile, the prince says he will definitely make her healthy for sure. But Arlin wants someone to help her get away from the main lead. You must be wondering how it all started. This is the story of a 19-year-old genius violinist, once hailed as a prodigy blessed by the heavens and admired by the world. One day, while walking and reading a novel, she is hit, not by the infamous truck-kuan, but by a luxury sedan, losing her life on the spot. To her shock, she gets reincarnated as a character in a novel. Still frozen in shock and unable to move, she hears a maid continuously asking if she is all right, panicking over why Lady Arlin is not moving. As Arlin processes everything, it doesn't take her long to realize which novel she is reincarnated into, and whose body she now possesses. The body belongs to Arlin Sigria Halburn, the heiress of the Halburn ducal family, one of the 5 great dukedoms of the Albrecht Empire, and the sole successor of her ducal house. Yes, she is born into a wealthy family with a diamond spoon. She thinks she has gained a luxurious and happy life, but fate has a different plan for her. When she wakes up, she suddenly feels dizzy. Even when she tries to run a little, her body becomes out of breath and exhausted. She realizes that along with the diamond spoon, she has also inherited a body that is terminally ill. As the memories of her past life grow clearer with time, she gradually begins to hear things no child should know. Some people and maids whisper that the Duke of Halburn picked up a daughter from somewhere. No one knows who her mother is or how a bastard child became the master of Halburn. A mysterious daughter the Duke suddenly brought home one day, leaving Arlin in the care of the mansion's steward before departing alone for the northern front lines. In the original story, the female lead dies before turning 10, burying the truth forever in mystery. She is a terminally ill character who dies early on, and the male lead is just an insignificant childhood friend. Before changing fate, starting a business, or growing stronger, she needs to get healthy first. After finally remembering her past life, she has zero motivation to do anything with such a trash body. Suddenly, she remembers that this is the time for him to show up, her only guardian. Outside her room, her guardian knocks, asking permission to enter. One maid becomes mesmerized by his beauty, while another tries to stop her. After a moment, he gets permission and opens the door. An elegant, long-haired man with striking green eyes enters, Mehen Lebergen. He is the steward of the Halburn ducal family. He greets her, saying that it has been a while since he last saw her, and that he heard she had been staying in her room and not going outside, so he decided to stop by. After listening to him, she feels very bad for her guardian, who has been checking on her condition day by day. Mehen opened a file and started taking notes, asking her if anything was troubling her. She wondered why he was questioning her like a government clerk. Mehen was the predator of the Halburn estate, a commoner by birth now known as a genius. He served as the Duke of Halburn's steward, chief aide, and the manager of the capital mansion. Back when she didn't have memories of her past life, she used to be afraid of Mehen because of his stern demeanor. But now, she saw him as an overworked corporate employee. "Oh, my poor guardian." Mehen asked her if there was anything she wished for, and she thought about it. With a smile, she greeted Mehen, saying it had been a while since she had seen him. Mehen was shocked by her sudden charm and took a moment to process it. Panicking, she quickly clarified that she didn't want anything and told him not to worry about her. Mehen said he had learned from the childcare group that she hadn't been going out lately. She reminded Mehen that he used to hate it when she went outside because any kind of activity put too much strain on her heart. She told him not to worry and promised she would behave and stay quiet. An awkward silence surrounded the room. All he could say was that he understood before leaving the room. In Mehen's office, he had a bad feeling something felt off. It had been 3 months since he last saw Lady Arlen properly. He called his butler, Dylan, and told him to gather the childcare group. Standing up with a serious expression, he ordered his butler to assemble them at once. Even the highly capable steward of the Halburn estate felt helpless when faced with the completely unfamiliar field of childcare. Reaching a final conclusion, he decided to leave it to the experts. Using the Lord's funds, he mobilized them and hired top talents from among the graduates of the Ernst International Butler and Maid Academy. The Arlen Care Unit was composed of theoretically perfect talents, each an expert in their own field, whether cooking, childcare, or service. They were commonly known as the childcare group. After some time, everyone gathered. Looking at their expressions, Mehen understood that they had sensed something was wrong as well. He asked them to speak one by one. Head maid Rena said that Lady Arlen seemed strangely lifeless and that she stayed in her room without coming out. Head butler Ern said that Lady Arlen used to smile a lot. But now, no matter how hard they tried to make her laugh, she wouldn't even chuckle. Mehen asked head maid Rena about her health. She replied that according to the court physicians, there was nothing unusual. One of them said it was the first time Lady Arlen had shut herself in like this. Another said it made them nervous because she had been the complete opposite before. She used to go outside often. Mehen thought that if he wanted to see her face now, she would have to come out of her room. Could something serious have happened? Head maid Rena suddenly stood up with excitement and said, "Tomorrow is that day, the day Lady Arlen will visit the Imperial Palace." The day finally came. Head butler Ern and Arlen arrived at the Imperial Palace, and Lady Arlen was mesmerized by its beauty. It was the day she would meet the male leads. The butler happily said goodbye to her, and she waved back. It was an official social gathering meant to foster ties between the crown prince, noble heirs, and other imperial elites. Perhaps because this world ran on highly advanced magical engineering, there was so much to see. The Imperial Palace, where wealth and technology gathered, was far more extravagant than anywhere else. After walking a little, her body began to protest. She already felt like she was dying. Finally, she reached the hall, still managing her condition. Maids and butlers opened the doors for her, revealing many noble heirs and children of imperial families gathered inside. They were the future of Albrecht. Felt like she was looking at celebrities. A pair of identical twins, a child with black hair and blue eyes, and many others stood out. She knew their futures. One would become an infamous womanizer, another a mad swordmaster. Not to mention the scandalous love triangle they would create, one that would shake the entire empire. She sat down on a chair to rest her body. A strange sadness filled her as she thought about their futures in which she would not take part. While she was lost in thought, some children suddenly started shouting, "Pigeon!" The crown prince had finally arrived. Everyone began running toward him. He was one of the male leads of this novel. A silver-haired prince wearing a heavy crimson mantle trailing behind him made his entrance. Even Lady Arlen was mesmerized by the crown prince's beauty. Is this really the face of a 7-year-old crown prince? The silver-haired heir stood bathed in golden light, his ruby eyes shimmering. With a cheerful smile, he greeted everyone. The crown prince, Pigeon, asked everyone, "What should we play today? Does anyone have a good idea?" The twin brothers smiled and replied that they had no ideas. Prince Pigeon then suggested, "Let's go outside and play find the ball again." And everyone agreed. As they all began heading outside, Arlen, who was sitting on the other side, heard everything. Her heart sank. She also wanted to join them and play together, but with her weak body, she simply couldn't. While everyone left, Arlen remained seated alone at the table. To her, this wasn't surprising. No one ever really cared. Even though she was present, nobody asked her to join them. That realization broke her heart. She was supposed to be the one and only precious daughter of House Halburn. Praised as a gem among jewels, born of nobility, believed to live a healthy and beautiful life. But the reality was far more pathetic. Even within the Halburn estate, Arlen was treated like a mere extra. Her status didn't matter. Everyone treated her with the same cold indifference. After realizing she had reincarnated into this world, there was only one thing she desperately hoped for: a warm, loving family that cherished her more than anything. Sadly, even in this life, she didn't receive that. With sadness in her eyes, she decided to head outside anyway. As she stood up, a maid approached and tried to escort her, but Arlen politely refused, saying she was fine and could walk on her own. Before the maid could respond, Arlen began walking away, leaving the maid stunned. As she walked, she thought about the novel. Arlen had always been frail and probably couldn't play with the other children either. She guessed that the previous owner of this body must have tried her hardest not to be left out. But why should she do the same? She didn't want to push her body like that. Instead, she decided to kill some time and then head back home. It was a beautiful sunny day, with a cool breeze in the air. Arlen sat under a tree, relaxing, choosing not to join the others and exhaust herself just to impress anyone. The gentle breeze calmed her mind, and she planned to spend her time peacefully. But fate had other plans. Suddenly, the bushes nearby began to shake. Looking closely, she saw a white tail flicking back and forth. Thinking it might be a kitten, she focused her gaze, and soon saw a beautiful white cat with sky-blue eyes. She had never seen this cat before. Perhaps it belonged to the emperor or empress. Smiling, Arlen softly called the cat, slowly moving closer. Just as she was about to reach out, something startled the cat, and it ran away. Not wanting to lose sight of it, Arlen followed the cat into the bushes. By accident, she collided with Crown Prince Pigeon. She accidentally grabbed his hand, and both of them froze in shock. Startled, Pigeon pulled his hand back and demanded, "Who are you?" Nervously, Arlen explained that she was from House Halburn. The prince asked why she was alone and why she wasn't playing with the others. She replied that she wasn't feeling well, which was why she hadn't joined them. "Are you sick?" the prince asked. She nodded and said that even running a little would make her collapse. She hoped the prince would understand her situation and leave her alone. Instead, to her surprise, he looked even more confused and said that collapsing from a little running sounded unbelievable. He thought she was lying. Arlen insisted that she was telling the truth and asked him to leave. To prove his doubt, the prince told her to run. She was shocked. "If you're telling the truth, then run," he said. Arlen didn't want to, but with no other option left, she agreed to prove herself. The prince's eyes sparkled like jewels, while Arlen's mood dropped even further. She thought bitterly that she would remember the psychopathic crown prince forever. Taking a deep breath, she began to run, thinking that this weather was perfect for passing out. After only a short distance, her breathing became heavy, and she felt herself about to collapse at any moment. The prince ran beside her. Suddenly, Arlen stumbled, and the prince caught her just in time. She didn't know what he would do next. At that moment, a maid noticed Arlen collapsing and shouted for help, calling for a doctor. Sometime later, at the Halburn estate, Mehen was furious as he rushed toward Arlen's room to check her condition. He couldn't understand how a gathering that was supposed to be a friendly playdate for the crown prince and the empire's elite heirs, meant to be the safest place, ended with Arlen being carried back unconscious, without even a proper explanation from the royal court. If even House Halburn was reacting this strongly, then the royal family was clearly involved. To Mehen, this was nothing less than a declaration of war against House Halburn. He demanded answers from the palace, but first, Lady Arlen's condition came before anything else. Mehen asked the childcare staff about her state. One of them replied that she had woken up and that her condition had stabilized. However, Lady Arlen had ordered isolation and didn't wish to see anyone at the moment. Meanwhile, in the imperial palace, Prince Pigeon sat in a room with his mother. She told him she had heard he had been extremely rude to a girl from House Halburn. She asked him what she had always taught him. "To be kind to everyone," Pigeon replied. His mother immediately ordered him to go to House Halburn and apologize to Lady Arlen. Until he was forgiven, his tea desserts and even a single piece of chocolate were completely banned. Pigeon was horrified. He pleaded desperately, begging his mother not to ban his snacks. After that incident, Arlen sat on the balcony, enjoying tea and dessert. Still, she couldn't believe how fragile her body was. Fragile like a sunfish. She knew she was weak, but after what happened, she couldn't comprehend just how weak she truly was. How could I collapse from just a little running? She wondered. Suddenly, Arlen heard two maids talking nearby about the incident. One of them said, "What if Lord Mehen actually issues an expulsion order?" The other maid scoffed and replied, "Lady Arlen is just doing this for attention." She mocked Mehen, saying how ridiculous it was that a young man in his prime was stuck with childcare duties. All thanks to the dumb girl, Arlen. Hearing all this wasn't new to Arlen. In her past life, her classmates had mocked her behind her back as well. They pretended to admire her, calling her a genius who acted high and mighty, but deep inside, they were nothing but rivals. They even secretly wished for her to get hurt, hoping one of her hands would break or that something terrible would happen to her. In front of her, they acted like friends, but inside, they despised her. Even in this life, all she truly wanted was to be loved by her mother, a love she genuinely deserved. Inside his office, Mehen couldn't understand why raising a child felt so difficult. He remembered Arlen's cold words and felt the urge to be more attentive toward her. Lady Arlen Sigria Halburn, the daughter of his lord. He had raised her since she was little, and because of that, he could never fully leave her in the hands of the nannies. He remembered how cheerful, joyful, and full of energy she had once been. As her guardian, he had wanted to stay by her side for a little while longer. Yet Mehen also tried to maintain distance, afraid of getting too close to her. In the end, all she needed was family, love and warmth. And yet, her useless master hadn't even responded to her needs. Mehen's butler tried to speak up, calling his attention. Mehen asked him whether he was overthinking the situation. The butler replied, "Lady Arlen has never even met the Grand Duke. To her, you probably feel more like family. Children at that age don't want jewels or crowns. All they want is the warmth of a caring guardian." Just then, a maid entered the office and announced that the Crown Prince had arrived at the mansion. Mehen was shocked by the Crown Prince's sudden arrival. After speaking with him, Mehen finally understood the reason behind Lady Arlen's collapse. The Crown Prince had come to check on her condition. Mehen told him firmly that he would not be allowed to meet Lady Arlen. The physician had strictly ordered complete rest for her and instructed the Crown Prince to leave immediately. However, the Crown Prince presented a box of jewelry and said, "Please allow me to at least give this to Lady Arlen. After that, I will leave." Mehen accepted the gift and thanked the Crown Prince. However, in a cold demeanor, he demanded that the imperial family provide House Halburn with a proper explanation for the incident. Even the imperial attendants broke into a sweat under Mehen's terrifying gaze. For now, Mehen suggested they return. As they were leaving, the Crown Prince asked Graham, "Did I do something wrong?" Graham replied that it would be best to leave immediately, perhaps because he was afraid of Mehen. Outside the office, the Crown Prince seemed deep in thought. Graham noticed this and sensed that something bad was about to happen. Suddenly, the Crown Prince ran off, telling Graham that he was going to see Lady Arlen himself and ordering him to stall for time. Just as Graham tried to stop him, he heard a cold voice behind him. "What is the matter?" Mehen asked icily. "I already told you to leave." Terrified by his expression, Graham froze, wondering what he should do. Left alone with the mad dog of House Halburn, he nearly burst into tears. Meanwhile, the Crown Prince searched for Lady Arlen's room. As he walked through the mansion, something felt off. The palace was unusually quiet, vast, empty, and cold. In the imperial palace, he had always felt warmth and gentleness in the air. But here, there was no warmth at all. Only chilling cold and lingering darkness. He just hoped to find Lady Arlen before he was caught. He hadn't known she was so ill. If he had, he would never have told her to run, and she wouldn't have collapsed. He had only come here to apologize, and maybe to get his desserts, chocolate, and tea back. Suddenly, he noticed a light coming from a room. He wondered why the door was open and what was inside. Slowly, he pushed it open. The moment he looked inside, he was completely stunned. A girl stood by the window. Her hair looked like sunlight melted into platinum. Her eyes were the color of rose quartz, and her pale, porcelain face was delicate and small. It was Lady Arlene, shining like an angel, her beauty mesmerizing beyond words. When Lady Arlene asked him what he was doing there, he tried to answer, but his face turned red and his heartbeat quickened. He wondered why he was feeling so nervous. Mustering his courage, he replied that he had come to apologize. He did not know she was terminally ill and that she would collapse from running. He felt genuinely guilty for what had happened and promised that he would never make her do something like that again. Arlene, with a blank expression, replied that something like that would not happen again, and that she was fine now. The Crown Prince became confused by her words, not understanding what she was trying to say. Arlene told him not to worry about her. Besides, she already knew she was going to collapse when she ran. She also knew that he had sneaked into her room without permission, because Lord Mehen would never allow anyone to enter her room secretly. She said she would keep it a secret, but told him to leave now, as she still needed to rest since she had not fully recovered yet. The prince still wanted to talk to her, but Arlene ignored him and told him to take care on his way out. She immediately closed the door, leaving the Crown Prince standing outside. He couldn't believe he had just been thrown out like that. After all, he was the Crown Prince, he had some dignity too. After some time, the head maid, head butler, and physician arrived to monitor the situation. The head maid reported that the Crown Prince had just left Lady Arlene's room and that they should check on her. As they were about to enter, they saw Lord Mehen standing outside Lady Arlene's door. The head butler whispered that today's timing was very unfortunate. Lord Mehen had been on edge lately. He even suggested bringing the medicine tomorrow instead. The physician couldn't understand why the two of them were acting strangely, since Lady Arlene needed to take her medicine on time. When they saw Lord Mehen, an angry wolf-like aura seemed to be radiating from him. Terrified by his expression, they decided to retreat for now. However, on the other side, Lord Mehen was not angry, he was confused. What did children of Lady Arlene's age truly want? Was it the gentle warmth of a guardian? Didn't Lady Arlene see him as more of a family member, especially since her father was not here? He was the only one who could protect her. Perhaps he could not give her the warmth and love of a real family, but he still decided to stay by her side no matter what happened. He opened the door and asked Lady Arlene if everything was all right. Lord Mehen's sudden appearance made it clear to her that the Crown Prince had indeed sneaked in to see her. She said everything was fine. Lord Mehen's expression darkened as he moved to inspect her room, but Arlene stopped him. He sat down and apologized, saying he did not mean to interrogate her. He calmly looked at Lady Arlene, confused about why he felt so flustered. Wasn't she supposed to be a burden to him? A burden he was forced to raise simply because his lord had ordered him to? They were not family, nor did they share any deep bond. They were merely guardian and ward. Lady Arlene asked him how often seeing her these days had bothered him. As Lord Mehen tried to clarify himself, she, with a lifeless expression, told him not to waste his time on her. She said she would stay quiet and behave properly, as if she did not even exist. Hearing this, Lord Mehen felt tears well up in his eyes, though he controlled his emotions. He lowered his head and said he would do as my lady wished, then left the room. While walking away, Lord Mehen could not understand why Lady Arlene seemed angry with him. Should he simply ignore her and stay out of her way? Had she meant for him to stop acting like her guardian? But after seeing her lifeless expression, Lord Mehen felt his heart break. He never wanted Lady Arlene to wear such an expression. The real problem was that they both did not understand each other. Arlene believed she was only a burden to Lord Mehen because of her father's command. Meanwhile, Lord Mehen wanted to care for her like real family and give her love and warmth. The next day, a maid entered Lady Arlene's room and told her it was time to take her medicine. As she drank it, the bitterness spread through her mouth. It was a pink liquid medicine she had been taking since childhood. She did not know who had created it, but it prevented her unpredictable seizures and outbursts. It also helped her body, ravaged by illness, recover, though only slightly. Lady Arlene asked where Uni was. The maid replied that Miss Uni had been called to an urgent meeting, so she had come in her place. Lady Arlene knew this was the maid who always spoke behind her back, yet acted prim and proper in front of her. After finishing her medicine, Lady Arlene told her to leave. Once the maid exited, she lay down in her bed, finally enjoying some peace and quiet. On the other side, Graham, the Crown Prince's chamberlain, had been desperately wishing to resign lately. He believed the crown prince had become completely infatuated with Lady Arlin. The prince even had a large framed portrait of her. He often wondered why Lady Arlin was so frail. The crown prince ordered everyone to keep running until they collapsed, just like Lady Arlin. Excitedly, the crown prince once told Graham how Lady Arlin had bid him farewell before he left, and he was certain it meant something special. He had clearly fallen in love with Lady Arlin. He even asked Graham what he thought Lady Arlin might be doing at that moment. Sometimes he would order him to find out whether Lady Arlin's health had improved. One day, the crown prince asked if Lady Arlin would be attending the gathering of childhood friends. Graham smiled and said that Lady Arlin's health had greatly improved, and that she had assured him she would attend the gathering. However, when the crown prince entered the room, he did not see Lady Arlin there. Coldly, he told Graham that he had put all his faith in him, and now he was disappointed. Internally, Graham was crying and thinking about resigning, since he could not fulfill his master's wishes. As Graham remained lost in his thoughts, the crown prince asked if he was even listening. "Is this the best you can do?" he demanded. In the end, the gathering of childhood friends concluded earlier than usual. Graham tried to explain that he had received confirmation that Lady Arlin would attend, but she had not come, and it was not his fault. However, the crown prince was not in the mood to listen. He felt very sad that he did not get to see her again. He missed her too much. Finally, the crown prince decided to go meet Lady Arlin himself. If she could not come to him, then he would go to her instead. Before long, the crown prince and Graham arrived at the gates of the Halburn estate. The guards were surprised by the crown prince's sudden visit. "Open the gate quickly," the crown prince ordered. He was clearly desperate to see her. Graham reminded him that they first needed to formally announce their visit. The crown prince paused for a moment, then suddenly began running inside, telling Graham to follow him. He had changed his plan. He decided to appear suddenly and surprise her. Surely she would like that more. Graham could only hope everything would go smoothly and that they would not cause a major problem. As they entered the mansion, the crown prince immediately began searching for Lady Arlin's room. But this time the atmosphere felt different. It used to feel lonely and cold, but now the air seemed tense, as if everyone was on edge. In the distance, the crown prince overheard two maids talking about Lady Arlin. Graham asked what he was doing, but the crown prince signaled him to remain silent. One maid said, "Did you see the face she made when she told me to leave quickly after giving her medicine? She acts like she's someone important. Without Lord Mehen, she's just a half." Even Graham felt sad hearing those words and couldn't believe how they treated Lady Arlin like that. He tried to cover the crown prince's ears so he wouldn't have to listen to their trash talk. But the crown prince stopped him, saying this conversation was important. He needed to know what they meant. He wanted to understand why they were calling Lady Arlin a half. Another maid added, "Even if she's a half, she's still a noble, isn't she? How many supporters does she think she has to treat Lord Mehen so coldly?" The other laughed loudly and said, "Let's be honest, without Lord Mehen, she would be done already. Lady Arlin is completely useless. She's gonna die soon anyway. She needs to know her place." Hearing this, the crown prince became furious. "And who doesn't know their place?" he demanded. The maids were shocked, not realizing who had been listening. They were used to speaking badly about Lady Arlin behind her back, but they never expected someone like him to overhear them, especially someone who cared deeply about her. When they looked closely, they realized who he was. Their faces turned pale. Graham angrily ordered them to kneel and show respect to the crown prince. In fear, both maids immediately knelt down. One of them tremblingly asked, "What is the matter, Your Highness?" "Silence," the crown prince said coldly. "You have no right to ask me questions. I will ask the questions." He said he was curious about the conversation they were having just moments ago. "Who is the one that doesn't know their place?" There was malice in his tone, born from the intent to defend someone who had been demeaned. For the first time, he felt something cold settle in his chest. Is this what anger feels like? The crown prince thought. "Just moments ago, you were speaking so freely," he continued. "Why are you silent now? Did your tongues get cut off?" After overhearing the confrontation, many servants and maids gathered at the scene. The situation was quickly getting out of control. Lord Mehen soon arrived and asked the crown prince why he was there. The maids realized this was the end for them. Suddenly, One of them noticed Lady Arlin had also arrived. A flicker of hope emerged within them, and they immediately begged her for forgiveness. They apologized for everything they had said and pleaded for mercy. But the Crown Prince interrupted them. There's no point in begging now. It won't change anything. With your own stupidity, you have dug your own graves, calling Lord Mehen an idiot and Lady Arlin a half inside their own mansion. This was unforgivable. Mehen was shocked upon hearing what they had said. As for Lady Arlin, she appeared indifferent. The physician asked her quietly, "Has this happened before?" Lady Arlin answered calmly, "Yes." "Then why didn't you tell anyone?" the doctor asked. "Because everything they said is true," she replied. There was no point in complaining. Hearing this, the doctor felt deeply saddened. How could she endure so much hatred in silence? Lord Mehen learned that the maids had been badmouthing both him and Lady Arlin, and that Arlin had known all along but never told anyone. Furious, he ordered everyone to return to their duties. The butler asked what should be done with the maids. With a cold glare, Lord Mehen commanded them to be locked in prison. He would personally interrogate them. The Crown Prince rushed to Lady Arlin and asked about her health. Seeing him, Arlin thought it would have been better if she had simply stayed in her room. She hadn't expected something so troublesome to happen in the hallway. On the other hand, the Crown Prince's face sparkled with joy after seeing her again. He began examining her condition, asking whether her health had improved. Arlin was slightly annoyed by his excessive concern. He explained that he had even visited the hospital to check on her. Since she hadn't attended the gathering, he assumed she was sick and decided to come personally. Arlin felt strange hearing this. From the beginning, the Crown Prince and she had nothing in common that would make them friends. What had changed his heart to make him visit her like this? She didn't know that he had secretly fallen in love with her. He was cute, but she didn't have the mental peace to appreciate his cuteness. She thanked him for exposing the maid's true behavior. He shyly replied that it was nothing. Although he hadn't originally intended to get involved, he couldn't just stand by. Arlin told him that next time, she would handle it herself. She didn't want to put the Crown Prince in a difficult position. He asked if he had been too bold. Internally, she thought yes, but outwardly, she said no. Still, she thanked him for everything he had done today. As she finished speaking, her vision began to blur. She felt dizzy. Cursed body, why do you feel even weaker than usual? She offered to have someone bring him a glass of juice, but the house was unsettled, and she wasn't feeling well. She told him to leave for now. As he left, the prince told her to take care of herself. Meanwhile, Graham was silently crying, thinking about how much chaos they had caused that day. As Lady Arlin returned to her room, the physician accompanied her and asked whether she felt tired. The doctor offered to help her prepare for bed, saying that if she slept for a while, her condition would improve. But Lady Arlin's dizziness worsened. Before she could even reach her bed, she had already reached her limit. Suddenly, she collapsed onto the floor, leaving the physician completely stunned. In Lord Mehen's office, he called the head steward and asked whether he truly needed to concern himself with this matter. The head steward apologized for the trouble caused by the maids. Mehen asked him if he truly understood how much today's incident had tarnished the name of House Halburn. The head steward said he understood the seriousness of the situation and promised to take full responsibility and resolve the matter as quickly and responsibly as possible. Lord Mehen told him that if he did not want the servants to be fired, he had to investigate the situation properly. After the head steward left, Lord Mehen fell deep into thought. Lady Arlin's sudden change in attitude had shaken him lately. His nerves had become overly sensitive, and the atmosphere in the estate felt unsettled. His attempt to be mindful of Lady Arlin had only led to her overhearing things that children her age should never have to listen to. The fact that maids were badmouthing her behind her back made him even angrier. Suddenly, his butler rushed in after receiving permission to enter. Lord Mehen noticed he had not yet eaten and asked what the matter was. Still catching his breath, the butler said, Lady Arlin." Lord Mehen interrupted, asking if she had decided to resume her education. But the butler, terrified, said that Lady Arlin had suddenly collapsed. Lord Mehen was shocked by the news. First, the maids were exposed, and now Lady Arlin had collapsed. The butler informed him that Dr. Uni was taking care of her. Should they contact the Mage Tower or seek help from the temple as well? Meanwhile, Lady Arlen's condition kept worsening. Her entire body was in pain, and she was screaming in agony. Dr. Uni observed that Lady Arlen was showing seizure symptoms. Lord Mehen quickly arrived at her room and asked the doctor about her condition. Dr. Uni replied that she did not know yet. Lady Arlen had suddenly collapsed and was now seizing. Lord Mehen asked what the attending physician was doing. She replied that he had examined her earlier and had gone to prepare some medicine. He had said tonight would be very difficult for Lady Arlen. Lord Mehen could not understand why she had suddenly suffered a seizure when everything had seemed normal today. Dr. Uni explained that the attending physician believed the cause might be excessive psychological stress from today's events. Lady Arlen had only appeared fine because of the medicine. Her health had never truly improved. Medicine? Lord Mehen asked. Did she take her medicine today? Dr. Uni confirmed that she had taken it, but suddenly realized something and rushed out to check something urgently. Lord Mehen could not understand what was happening. As he was about to follow Dr. Uni, he heard a voice and stopped. It was Lady Arlen, still in pain, crying desperately and repeatedly calling for her mother. The beginning of her old nightmare was always the same. A spotlight shone on a grand piano. A violin ended up in her hands before she even realized it. It looked like she was at an audition. Her mother was there too, beautiful and talented. And she, the daughter who resembled her exactly, stood before her. Her mother had only one wish. She wanted her daughter to become the best in the world. She believed in her completely. Would she be able to fulfill her mother's dream? She couldn't do it, right? Then her mother's voice ended, and the piano accompaniment began without pause. A familiar melody filled the entire room, but she could not lift the bow. She stared at her mother. "You are too far," she whispered. What kind of expression was her mother making? She began to cry. Why had her mother treated her that way? What was she to her? Did she even know? Did she truly love her? All the countless words I couldn't bring myself to say. I missed you. And beneath them all, don't leave me alone. As her mother started to walk away, she desperately called after her. She tried to reach her through the violin in her hands, running toward her. Was she going to be left alone again? It was awful, being left alone in the darkness. Was there anyone who truly loved her? But within that darkness, a small hope emerged. A hand held hers. It was Lord Mehen, embracing her. Her seizure slowly calmed. Who is it? Is this Mom? She whispered. Lord Mehen said nothing. He simply held her more tightly. The warmth and love she had longed for were finally there. She fell into a peaceful sleep in Lord Mehen's arms. He softly assured her that everything would be all right. That night, Lady Arlen slept peacefully while Lord Mehen sat beside her, holding her hand. He had instinctively taken her hand, but now she was the one refusing to let go. He could not understand why she had been calling out for her mother with all her heart, someone she had never even seen before. The truth was, she missed her so much. But in this vast mansion, was there truly no one she could say, I miss her? If that was the case, then he would always stay by her side. The next beautiful morning, sunlight passed through the door. Lady Arlen slowly woke up. She seemed to look fine. As she rubbed her eyes, she noticed someone sitting beside her. Still half asleep, she looked at him and softly called, Mom! But to her surprise, it was not her mother. It was Lord Mehen. She had mistakenly called him Mom. Lord Mehen gently told her that he was not her mother. Lady Arlen was still processing everything. With a nervous expression, Lord Mehen asked how she was feeling. But she called him Mom again. He awkwardly replied that he was actually a man. Suddenly, she started crying as she remembered her mother. Lord Mehen tried to comfort her, thinking how truly unfathomable children were. In the past, one day Duke Halburn had brought a child into the mansion. Public curiosity was immediately directed at her. Everyone wondered who her mother could possibly be. Some whispered she was the daughter of a harlot. Others speculated she was an illegitimate child of noble blood, hidden from scandal. But one thing was certain. She bore the blood of Halburn. The Halburn Guardian Stone, which only glowed for blood relatives, resonated clearly with Lady Arlen. Lord Mehen had also heard the maid's gossip that the child was undeniably the Duke's daughter. Then who was the mother? Maybe she was the result of true love. The Duke of Halburn in love? That had to be the most absurd sentence he had ever heard. Still, He did not care about his lord's private life. But the child must have felt differently. She was the one at the center of all those rumors. She must have wondered about her parents. Yet, to Lord Mehen's surprise, Lady Arlen had never asked about her mother. He had always thought she would ask one day. He had even prepared a model answer just in case. But she had never asked a single question about her parents. Eventually, it had started to feel natural. He stopped questioning it and assumed she simply wasn't curious. That was what he believed. But now she had proven him wrong. Seeing her cry and call for her mother made him realize, maybe she wasn't indifferent. Maybe she had just been holding everything in all this time. She suddenly realized she was truly awake. It was not a dream. Yet she was still calling him, Mom. Her throat was sore, and the words barely came out. She did not want to put Lord Mehen in such an awkward position. But after seeing her desperate cries for her mother, he agreed. He told her gently that it would be fine if she called him Mom. A title did not matter in a situation like this. Lady Arlen thought it felt so strange. The man she once believed would cast her aside without hesitation was now agreeing to be called Mom. She asked him if he disliked her and had always wanted to push her away. Lord Mehen told her that was not the truth. Why would someone like me have any reason to hate you? She asked if he was lying. He firmly replied that he was not. Gently, Lord Mehen caressed Lady Arlen's hair. He told her that he had been an orphan. He did not know who his parents were. He had never even seen their faces. He did not know whether they had abandoned him or had died. He had never had anyone to care for him. As for love, he was not even sure he truly understood what that word meant. To be honest, he admitted, even now, I still don't know how to properly take care of you, Lady Arlen. He had never meant to cast her aside. It was all because of his own shortcomings. He gently wiped away her tears. Lady Arlen did not expect this vulnerable side of Lord Mehen. He continued, saying that even if he did not raise her perfectly, he would at least raise her without lacking anything. Lady Arlen told him he had not done anything wrong. Lord Mehen asked if she was forgiving him. Again, she said there was nothing he had done wrong. He asked once more if she would not forgive him. Instead of answering directly, Lady Arlen softly said, Mom. Lord Mehen was surprised. She asked if it would really be okay if she called him Mom. He awkwardly replied that he was actually a man, and the title Mom did not suit him very well. But Lady Arlen grabbed his clothes with pure affection. She saw Lord Mehen as her mother. The love and warmth she felt around him were things she had never experienced before. Lord Mehen said that biologically it might be a stretch, but he would do his best to act like her mother. A simple joy of hope emerged within Lady Arlen. The Mehen she knew was logical and rational. He was not the kind of person to indulge a child's whim like this. She could not believe he had agreed. Lady Arlen felt so happy that a joyful smile appeared on her face. Even if it lasted only for a moment, she truly liked his answer. It was the first time anyone had seen Lady Arlen smile like that. Seeing her smile, Lord Mehen said it was a good sign and that she should smile more often. In the evening, a mage began treating Lady Arlen, while Lord Mehen stayed by her side. After some time, he stepped outside her room and asked Dr. Uni what exactly had happened. Dr. Uni said that someone might have tampered with Lady Arlen's medicine. Lord Mehen's expression darkened. Tampered? Someone stole it. Dr. Uni explained that on the day Lady Arlen was supposed to take her medicine, Lord Mehen had been near her room, so she had not been able to personally administer it. The next day, she had stayed up all night and accidentally forgot to give the medicine. Another maid had told her that she had already given it to Lady Arlen. However, it turned out that the maid who claimed to have given the medicine was one of the same maids who had caused the commotion yesterday. By the time Dr. Uni went to confirm everything, the maids were already dead in prison. Lord Mehen asked about the cause of their deaths. Dr. Uni replied that the maids had hanged themselves. Lord Mehen could not believe it was truly suicide. He asked whether there were any traces of the stolen medicine. Dr. Uni said they had not found it yet, but they were trying their best. Lord Mehen told her that for now, they would treat the maids' deaths as suicide and move forward. He asked if anyone else knew about this matter. She replied that no one else had been informed except him. Lord Mehen instructed her to keep this a secret. For now, their entire focus must be on the young lady's health. Dr. Uni said she understood and left the room. Lord Mehen stood there in silence. Was there an impostor within the estate? He was filled with rage. How could someone dare to pull something like this inside his own estate? After a few days, Lord Mehen asked the attending physician about Lady Erlin's current condition. The physician replied that she was much better now. Her heart rate was normal and her reactions were stable. However, they still needed to observe her further. She seemed much more psychologically stable, but continued monitoring was necessary. The attending physician then asked Lord Mehen what he had done, because the level of her improvement was remarkable. Lord Mehen replied that he had not done anything special. He had simply stayed by her side constantly over the past few days. He did not even realize that his love and warmth were enough to help heal her. However, the physician nervously added that as time went on, her body seemed to be getting weaker at this rate. Lord Mehen told him to stop. He knew what he was trying to say. The physician apologized. Lord Mehen told him there was no need to apologize and requested that he pay even more special attention to the young lady's health. It is already a miracle that she can still speak and move around. I only hope that her father will come and show his face at least once. Lady Arlen woke up after a peaceful sleep. Lord Mehen told her that she would be allowed to eat whatever she wanted for dinner that night. After hearing this, she became very happy. Is that really true? She asked. Lord Mehen gently asked, My lady, may I hold your hand? Looking at her small hand and her cute cheeks, he realized how beautiful she was, and he was glad he had realized it without delay. Lady Arlen happily extended her hand toward him and said yes. He could hold it. Lord Mehen held her hand and thought that he was supposed to take care of her. From now on, he would raise her properly. At that moment, in the imperial palace during the childhood friends gathering, the crown prince sat alone, looking very sad and thinking about someone we all know. The other children were confused about why His Highness was acting that way. Graham also noticed that the crown prince was not in the mood. They had received a letter from Halburn stating that Lady Erlin's condition was not good, so she would be unable to attend the gathering that day. After reading the letter, the crown prince thought, how can someone collapse so easily? Is her body made of glass? She was still sick and suffering. Suddenly, the twin brothers approached and asked why he looked so gloomy. The crown prince told them to leave him alone because he was not in the mood to play. The twins asked what kind of mood that was. If you are not in the mood to play with us, then what is bothering you? They asked. The crown prince said he had a concern. The twins asked what it was. He replied that a few days ago, he had gone to visit someone at the hospital. Could he go again? The twins answered that if he wanted to visit, he could simply go. However, there was someone who did not like that idea, Graham. He was practically crying in the corner because every time they went, they ended up causing trouble. But once again, the crown prince decided to visit Lady Arlen. He told everyone he was leaving because he had something important to do and asked Graham to follow him. The twin brothers were confused. They did not know whom the crown prince was going to visit. After some time, the crown prince arrived at Lady Erlin's room, and she slowly opened the door. There stood the person we already know, the one who once knocked her down and then pretended to care about her. The bright, cheerful devil had arrived. The crown prince approached her with a radiant aura and asked if she was sick. He said he had heard she collapsed again and asked if she collapsed that often. Lady Arlen felt like she was about to be exorcised by his overwhelming positive energy. In a panic, the crown prince asked if something had happened to her because she looked very pale again. Lady Arlen asked, Isn't today the day of the childhood friends gathering? The crown prince replied that he was relieved she at least remembered the date. She said she did know the date, but asked him why he was there when he should have been at the gathering. He explained that he had heard she had collapsed, so he left midway through the gathering to visit her. Lady Arlen was shocked. The crown prince, the most famous and powerful young man in Albrecht, was showing interest in her while neglecting others. He felt like chewing gum. Annoying, persistent, inescapable. She asked if there was any other reason for his visit. He said no. He just came to see her, because he missed her so much. Lady Arlen told him that her collapse was not his fault, so he did not need to worry about her constantly. The crown prince replied, How can I not worry? All of this happened because of me. He assured her that he would take care of her until she became healthy. But Lady Arlen felt annoyed. She did not want to get involved with Crown Prince Pigeon. It was obvious that he carelessly scattered goodwill and affection, making people yearn for it, only to disappear later. She had no intention of being fooled by fleeting affection. For some, it might be harmless. But for her, where even breathing felt like a luxury, Being swayed by someone was out of the question. She thought he was still young. Perhaps this was only a passing interest for him. After some time, in Lady Erlin's room, the Crown Prince asked if she always stayed inside like this. She said yes. Staying in her room had become her daily routine. The Crown Prince tried to copy her and sit still, but he could not remain still even for a second. She smiled after seeing how much effort he was putting into sitting quietly. The Crown Prince noticed her smile and gently said, "Oh, you smiled." He said it was the first time he had seen her smile like that. She became shy for a moment. She asked him what was so special about her smile. She did not understand. In Lord Mehen's office, he received a call from a red-haired man who said, "Long time no see, Lord Mehen." He was the loyal left arm and guardian knight of Herrenberg Muivisk of Zarenberg. Lord Mehen told him that he also needed to rest, since he had not fully recovered, and asked why His Highness was not there and why Zaren was calling instead. Zaren replied that His Highness had to go to repair the front line because there was a mass casualty incident. Zaren then asked whether something had happened. Lord Mehen replied that nothing had happened. However, Zaren mentioned how persistently Lord Mehen had been trying to contact His Highness lately. Was there something important to convey? If so, he could deliver the message. Seizing the opportunity, Lord Mehen asked Zaren to pass along a message to His Highness. In a loud, angry voice, he said that His Highness was the world's worst father and an absolute piece of trash. Zaren asked if there was anything else to tell His Highness. As he repeated the words, he finally understood what Mehen had said and asked if he was serious. "Is this truly the message for His Highness?" Zaren asked. But before Zaren could say anything further, Mehen hung up the call. After saying those words, Lord Mehen felt surprisingly relaxed. At last, his frustration had been released. The childcare team was made up of 4 to 5 core members. First, Dr. Uni, the head medic with comprehensive medical knowledge. Second, Amber, the head maid in charge of food. Third, Rena, the education specialist who professionally designed Lady Erlin's curriculum. And lastly, Ern, a former knight who protected her during outings. Since they were all experts in their respective fields, Lady Arlen had never once thought the childcare team was lacking in any way. But then something strange happened. When she woke up early one morning, everyone began clapping and cheering for her. She could not understand what was wrong with these people. "Did you all eat something weird today?" she asked. To her surprise, they were crying joyfully because Lady Arlen had spoken to them after remaining distant for so long. Seeing them like that, Lady Arlen thought they had collectively gone mad. "I'm going to read a book," she said flatly. "Please leave me alone." But Ern stepped forward and said, "Young lady, you don't need books right now. What you need is sunshine and purity. You should experience more of the brightness of the outside world." Lady Arlen replied that she did not want to go outside. She did not want to go anywhere. Rena then spoke. "My lady, while you were unconscious, we did a lot of research. We focused on professionalism to truly understand your heart. We weren't there for you emotionally before. From now on, we will show you a more complete and supportive side of ourselves." Suddenly, Lord Mehen appeared behind Rena and asked coldly, "What is the meaning of this?" Rena became frightened and quickly explained that they only wanted to grow closer to the young lady. Lord Mehen replied that Lady Arlen was still recovering, so they should not disturb her. This was not the proper way to support her. Suddenly, Lady Arlen grabbed Lord Mehen's clothes and called him Mom. Everyone stared at Lord Mehen in shock. Since when had he become the young lady's mother? A new wave of gossip immediately began among the childcare team. They whispered that Lady Arlen must have been the result of a forbidden love between Lord Mehen and His Highness. Dr. Uni asked if that was not the least credible rumor that had long since been buried. Ern added that, now that she thought about it, Lady Arlen and Lord Mehen did share a similar aura. Lord Mehen, standing behind them and overhearing their absurd conversation, wondered what on earth was going on. He ordered them to stop the nonsense and clarified that Lady Arlen had called him Mom because she missed her mother. However, Rena suddenly accused Lord Mehen of trying to take the young lady's mother's place and seize all the estate's assets. Lord Mehen calmly replied that he already managed everything in the estate. If he had wanted to seize it, he could have done so long ago. Rena immediately apologized. Lord Mehen gave her a cold glare and warned her not to let such nonsense happen again. Dr. Uni said that Lord Mehen had already reconciled with Lady Arlen and was staying by her side. They simply wanted to grow closer to her as well. Lord Mehen replied that it was not his problem. They had to handle that themselves. Their duty was to care for Lady Arlin, not to make things harder for her. Ern muttered that since Lord Mehen had already gained Lady Arlin's trust, he would not understand how they felt. They also wanted to earn her trust. In his office, Lord Mehen reflected on their behavior. They had always been like this, yet they were the only ones he trusted most in the estate. After the recent incidents, Lord Mehen had removed all untrustworthy staff from the mansion. All efforts were now focused solely on Lady Arlin's safety and well-being. Exhausted, Lord Mehen muttered, "Everything is a mess because we weren't careful, and it's all Duke Halbern's fault." Even venting did not ease his anger. With Zaren's help, he had already sent a message to the Duke. He quickly received a reply. The Duke asked if Lord Mehen was requesting to be fired. Lord Mehen responded, "Fire me if you like. I am retiring anyway." It seemed that Zaren had delivered the message with the full honor of a knight, repeating every word exactly as told. Suddenly, a pigeon flew to the window, carrying another letter. Lord Mehen noticed it. In the letter, the Duke stated that he would not dismiss him. If Lord Mehen left, it would be considered disloyalty punishable by his own flesh and blood. Lord Mehen was startled. Was that a threat? Apparently, he could not resign so easily. On the other side, the weekly childhood friends gathering resumed. The Crown Prince sat joyfully in front of the door, clearly waiting for someone. Everyone whispered about how His Highness seemed to be in such a good mood. He had even arrived earlier than usual. The Crown Prince kept staring at the door, thinking she would walk in at any moment. Suddenly, another girl approached and asked if he was waiting for her. He replied, "No." He had very high hopes that Lady Arlin would attend today. As time passed, he began to feel disappointed, thinking she might skip the gathering again. But then, she entered the room. Her hair shimmered and floated lightly, and she wore a flowing lavender dress. An angel had arrived, fulfilling the Crown Prince's wish. His mood instantly changed. He happily approached her and welcomed her warmly. They sat at a table already filled with desserts. The Crown Prince eagerly told Lady Arlin to try this dessert and that dessert. Lady Arlin wondered how she had ended up in this situation. If she had stayed in her room, the childcare team would have constantly pestered her. And in this world, there was no YouTube or anything to entertain her. Since she had fallen into a romance fantasy world, she decided she might as well sit in the front row and enjoy the story. The Crown Prince asked what she was thinking about. She thought it was all his fault for putting her in this situation. She believed it was only a passing curiosity for him, yet he kept persistently annoying her and even came to her mansion repeatedly. The Crown Prince asked why she was not eating. In reality, she had already eaten too many desserts. If she took one more bite, she felt she might actually die. She needed to survive this sweet torture and come up with a plan. She told the Crown Prince to eat more, since he had barely touched anything. The Crown Prince was delighted by her concern and even called her an angel. "Give all the desserts to me," he said proudly. "I'll eat them all." As he began eating enthusiastically, Lady Arlin noticed how cute he looked. While they were talking and enjoying themselves, some of the other children began noticing them. A green-haired boy whispered, "Who is she?" and asked if anyone knew about her. Other girls muttered, "What did she do to make the Crown Prince so flustered?" Soon, Lady Arlin noticed the jealous whispers filled with envy. She realized just how popular the Crown Prince truly was, how everyone around him longed for even a flicker of his attention. She had always thought of him as a happy-go-lucky puppy. But now, looking at him more carefully, even when he was not smiling, he appeared sharp and undeniably handsome. What exactly had the author been thinking? Crown Prince Pigeon truly was a rare type of male lead. Usually, in standard romance fantasy stories, the male lead was obsessed, arrogant, a duke with regretful trauma. Well, sooner or later, he would probably drift away and end up with the heroine anyway. It did not matter to her. Unless, the twist was that she had been reincarnated. What if he ended up with her? She quickly dismissed that delusion. Deep down, she knew she was going to die soon, so that future was impossible. The Crown Prince asked if she was lost in her thoughts again. "Yes, Your Highness," she replied. He told her to call him by his name, Pigeon. Nervously, in a soft and sweet voice, she said, "Pigeon." That was enough for him. He smiled gently, clearly pleased after hearing her say his name. She barely managed to avoid the crown prince. As she was about to leave, 2 guards stopped her. They said, "Her Majesty the Empress is calling for you." Arlin was shocked. Why was the Empress summoning her? After unifying all the kingdoms of the central continent, the vast nation was established as the Albrecht Empire. Many famous figures shone like stars during that era, but the most renowned among them was none other than Empress Azani, a beauty so unmatched that she received proposals from every powerful figure of her time. Her wisdom was on par with that of a sovereign ruler. Everyone in the empire admired Empress Azani, and she admired her as well. Crown Prince Peshin's upright and noble character was surely influenced by Empress Azani. Lady Arlin opened the door slightly and peeked inside. It was Empress Azani. Her beauty was striking and cold-toned, her eyes a piercing icy blue. She wore a black lace dress with deep sapphire accents, highlighting her regal and powerful elegance. The scene shifts to a room where Empress Azani says that today's view is very lovely, which is why she invited her. This was a place she was especially fond of. She also mentioned hearing from the maids that Lady Arlin had worked very hard today. However, Lady Arlin did not pay attention to her words. Her focus was entirely on the beautiful, delicious dessert placed before her. Although her stomach was already full because of the crown prince, she still wanted to try it. She hesitated, waiting for Empress Azani to pick up her fork first so she could begin eating. Empress Azani smiled, saying that Lady Arlin looked adorable even in her conflicted state. She told her to eat as much as she wanted. She added that this was their first time being alone together, and when she first saw Lady Arlin, she was very young. But Lady Arlin did not respond to any of her questions and decided to remain very still. Empress Azani could not stop praising her, saying that she had grown up to be very adorable and cute, and that she truly resembled that child so much. Now Lady Arlin noticed it. That child? What did she mean by that? Lady Arlin was shocked. Is there something between Empress Azani and her biological father that was never mentioned in the novel? And here the story ends. Let's see what secret Empress Azani knows. Did Empress Azani and Lady Arlin's father share something in common? Let's see in the next video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and see you in the next part.